Running one of the big drafts on DK. If you tried to hop on my live stream that I did right before this, I apologize. Um, Still learning this technical stuff out. I've never done a lot of videoing stuff, never streamed or made content before, and the microphone to my webcam got left on. So then when I tried to stream, and I'm using my regular mic down here, when I started listening to it at the end just to see how the sound quality was, it was poopy doopy, nothing but echo. So we took that video down, figured I'd do another one as a trial. My mic to the webcam is off this time, to say the least. Anyways, if you guys bear with me, once I get this thing up and running, I got a lot of fun stuff planned this summer, I think. So we hopped in another draft. Got the third pick in this one. I'll tell you about the other team in a minute since you'll never see it. Third pick, probably going, well, not Barkley because he just went. We'll take a JJ team with the third pick. It's kind of hoping the two hole went Jefferson. I could get me a Barkley at three, but it didn't work out that way. If you watch any of my drafts, whether it be live streams or one like this that's a recording, tell me what you guys think. So I'm going to try out this two computer method. I do like to kind of stay on the players tab probably more than I think viewers would like. I know when I watch all the main content creators out there, I like it when they're on the draft board and you can kind of see how things are going. So I'm gonna try it this way. I got one computer that I'm doing the draft on, and then my other one's set up with the recording and everything to be put out to YouTube. So I'm gonna try. If you guys like it, let me know in the comments to leave the draft board up the whole time. Especially this time of year. If you're watching best ball content in May, you don't really need to see the players list. You kind of know who goes about where generally. So you guys let me know what if you like this method where it stays on the draft board the whole time. If so, we'll run with it all summer. I have some really cool things planned. First of all, if you're a DraftKings guy, I think I'll be your streamer. Um, I've always played on DraftKings, came over from DFS a couple years ago. I've made one of their finals in the big millie maker. What we're doing here this year, we're going to try to win it all. Give us the 2 million, baby. Um, so yeah, I plan on doing a whole bunch of live stream drafts most nights of the week, probably. Sometimes two, sometimes one. And then I have a really cool series. Shout out to Ben Gretsch. If you saw him last year, you know he can't draft live because of where he lives. So he did this thing where he was drove to the border and hopped in a whole bunch of slow drafts at one time, and then he would hop on a stream and kind of walk through each of his team live on stream, kind of tell you what he was thinking, why he was building that team that way, answer the questions from the chat, of course, all that good stuff. And as somebody who with four kids does a lot of slow drafts, I really liked that. I really enjoyed it. He only did it briefly and then he stopped before the end of best ball season last year, I believe. Um, so yeah, I'm kind of shout out to him. I'm kind of gonna take that idea and run with it this year because I really enjoyed watching it. Maybe you guys will too. Let me know. So yeah, most of my drafting this year will be in this DK Millie Maker, going for the 2 million top prize. I also plan to do the slow draft series and make a few videos here and there, different topics, player take videos, things like that. All kind of best ball related though. It's getting close to me here, so let's see. What do we want to do here? We got some running backs on the board. We could go Bucky. JT just went. He was an option. We could go McBride. Don't really like taking the tight ends this early. I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna go Josh Jacobs here. I think his role is pretty safe. I like Bucky. I just don't like Bucky in the end of the second round. I wish Bucky was more of a third round pick. I don't think they'll just totally do away with White. I mean, if nothing else on DraftKings, White catches passes well enough that it kind of scares me to go second round Bucky. Whereas Josh Jacobs, I think pretty much is cemented as the true workhorse there. Look what some of these guys are doing. We got the one hole, he took Bucky with Chase. Chief Hawks in the two holes started Barkley and Jackson. We, of course, went JJ and Jacobs. As it flips around to me in the third, probably looking at like maybe Higgins, maybe Tyreek Hill. I'm not a Tyreek hater this year. I don't know. He could definitely hurt us. We could get burned, but I've been clicking him a lot in the third round, and I think we're gonna click him here. I don't know. I kind of have this gut feeling that it's gonna be a good Miami year this year. That he's gonna somewhat keep his head in the game, and Tua can hopefully somewhat stay healthy, and we know what that offense is capable of. The three hole, we have Matthew. He started three straight running backs, Bijan, Taylor, and Williams. Nothing wrong with that if you start hitting receiver pretty heavy here. Teddy in the sixth hole started Lamb and Allen. And then McLaurin. I kind of, if I got Lamb, I tend to pass on Lamar and Allen. I don't draft a whole lot of them in the second round right now, anyways. Um, I really like that pocket of quarterbacks that starts like, I don't know, let's say like pick 90 something. You got like Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams, those guys start right about like 90 something. And I mean, it goes all the way through Prescott, CJ, Love, Drake May, all the way down really to about Stafford. And I guess if you had some Raiders, maybe even Geno. I even kind of like Bryce this year in the 150s. I like that huge pocket of QBs. My favorite builds this year, this is like my 10th, I think, ninth or 10th in the big tournament team drafted. And I really like teams when I load up, kind of like I'm starting this one where we load up on wide receiver, running backs through the first, six or seven rounds. Maybe grab a tight end. I'll tell you my top tight end target that I like here in a minute. I'll try to get him on this team. Maybe we'll see how it works out. But, load up on the running backs, receivers, and then I like to try to get me at least two quarterbacks in that pocket, 90 through about 150. If both of the first two that I take are stacked up and I really feel good about their roles and their production, a lot of times I'll stick with two. Sometimes I'll throw a third one on there. It just depends on the team and how the build's going. As far as my rankings, I don't live and die by any rankings. Kind of, I'm a real vibes based guy. I kind of go with the guys that I do a lot of research. I watch a lot of tape, a lot of film. Uh, so a lot of it is my opinion, but I do like to have some rankings, of course. And this year so far, what I've been rocking with is a combination of ETR and beatbestball.com. Shout out to Chess Liam, three-time best ball champion. I feel like if you're going to put rankings out there for us and you've won three different major tournaments, yeah, I'm going to buy your rankings, bro. I do enjoy watching his streams though also. I really enjoy him. He's probably one of my favorite to be honest. I just really like a lot of his player takes that he does have. I like a lot of the other guys too though. Let's see here. I think I'm gonna take, it just hasn't worked out before, but my first Hampton share. I don't know. We know Harbaugh loves to run the ball, and Najee is Najee. Najee's gonna get some touches. But I like Amari in Hampton. That guy is explosive. It just hasn't worked out this year. There was a couple times where I picked maybe late 40s on teams that I was hoping to get him on, but it just didn't quite work out. The draft I did right before this, which was supposed to be my first live stream, but I made the rookie mistake and had two microphone inputs on, so it sounded poopy doopy. But anyways, that was my first Lamar team, at least in the big tournaments post draft. I think I might have had Lamar in one or two of the, pre-draft. Underdog calls it the big board. DraftKings did theirs this year. I think I forget what it was called, but it was $10. I think I did about 20, 25 of them. I've never been a big pre-draft guy. Every year though, pre-draft best ball, I guess I should say. Every year I find myself doing more and more. And so this year I decided to go all in and do a crap ton of them. It's on our pick here. You know what? I like the, let's go McMillan. I'm liking the way this draft is going so far. We got two running backs we feel really good about. Mr. Jacobs, Mr. Hampton. We got JJ, Tyreek, and Tet. It's already kind of working like I told you. Now we got Tua, we got McCarthy, and Bryce all as late round quarterback options. If the draft works out just right, maybe we can get them all on here at a good price. But anyways, since I made the decision, and I thought about last year getting into this whole streaming content stuff because I do play a lot of best ball and I do love it. I mean, I'm obsessed with it. I'm a think about it from probably March on through the start of the season. Now that I fully went into it, I plan to really give it a go. So I hope you guys will stick around. I'm gonna be producing stuff all summer. I got some ideas. I haven't quite finalized them yet, but I do have some ideas for content related around best ball still during the season. And then of course we'll do some playoff best ball and I'll probably do a lot more of the pre-draft big board slash whatever DraftKings calls it next year. Now that I am streaming, let's see here. What we got going on with some of those other teams there? The turn started Bowers and Brown and Smith and Hurts. They got the Eagles double. You know what? I kind of like the way he's doing that right there. I haven't seen that this year really to do it on the 12 hole like that, put him with Bowers. Then he came back with Godwin and Pickens. Starts tacking on some running backs there. It's gonna be a nice little team. Chief Rocca started four receivers, then threw on Montgomery and Judkins. The nine hole went Genty, Collins, JSN, Evans, Ridley, and drumroll. Who does he pick now? We shall see. Feeling good about this one so far, though. Nothing too crazy going on in the room. You guys know how DraftKings is. You never know what you're going to get. Sometimes it's really awesome for us, sometimes not. Nothing like thinking you can get that quarterback to fall to you, and then the guy with two strong quarterbacks takes a third quarterback he has no business taking. All right, let's start looking here at our player list. It's getting kind of close to us. Mm. I'm kind of thinking, let's see. Yeah, I don't think I could get it to come back. Since we got Jefferson, we're gonna chunk Edison on there. I'm a big stacker. I love team stacks. I love, of course, my quarterback stacked up with some pass catchers. And I would say I'm definitely don't go into the draft with a plan type of guy, you know? I kind of like to just see how it works out. I really have, no idea what type of team I'm going to build when the first round starts. See what pick I am, get my first round pick, and then just kind of go from there. I like the way this one's coming together, though. I'm going to be, never mind. They just took Henderson. I was about to say if Henderson would have came back around to me, that that ADP value was getting too hard to resist. I do kind of like him. I think he's explosive. Ramondre's still there, but Ramondre's a guy that gets hurt sometimes. I would have definitely had to think hard about taking him. I generally am not a big reach and go get your guy still this early. I mean, we're in the seventh round, but I'm probably going to go ahead and reach and take Hawkinson to fill out my Minnesota hopeful triple stack. But I'm gonna talk a little more about Hawkinson in a minute too. And it's really not that much. I mean, I'm pick 75. His ADP right now is 83. It's not near as bad as the Lamar drafter who just reached for likely in the seventh round. I think that's kind of a little bit early there. Quite a bit early, actually. Let's go for Hawkinson. So Hawkinson has actually been my favorite tight end to click this year so far. I mean, let's just look at the board here. I mean, we got if you want Bowers and you want McBride, they went into the first pick of the third now, but generally, y'all know they always hang out in the second round. Okay, well then, Kittle generally goes late fourth, early fifth, somewhere in there. I'm not a big Laporta guy, but give me Hawkinson all the way down. I took him a little early in the seventh. Generally, he goes like late seventh to early eighth. And, it's his second year coming back off of injury now. And it wasn't that long ago that he was tight end one. And I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to be tight end one again this year. No. Probably not. I mean, there is a world where that happens, albeit a small one, but the value, if you give me a guy in the late seventh, most of the time early eighth, this case early seventh, because it goes with my Minnesota thing I'm building. But you give me a guy who finishes even as the third or fourth tight end, not too far by. Let's say he finishes third, not too far behind McBride and Bowers, kind of right there with Kittle. Him and, of course, it's not going to work out that way, but on paper, Kittle and Hawkinson are third and fourth, a little bit behind the top two. Well, the value of taking him way down in the seventh, versus spending a second round pick on a tight end when we could have had Nico, who fell to the second round. Sometimes he goes first round. Brian Thomas, Antonio Brown, Drake London, Josh Jacobs, Achan, give me all of those guys, and I'll take Hawkinson in the seventh round versus an old Kelsey who somebody took in the seventh round. Or let's just look, Jonu's another tight end that's still out there right now. The rookie Warren in Indianapolis, who doesn't have a QB that can throw accurate no matter who their QB is. Loveland, Andrews, we don't even know if he's going to be on the Ravens this year. Of course, those guys go way after the seventh round, but they're just the top tight ends that's still on the board right now. So yeah, we're going to definitely try to get McCarthy, and we're going to see if the room won't give him to us at a really good discount when the time comes. We're probably going to try to go McCarthy to Young, although I may pass up on one of them and take Fields at some point if when it gets around his ADP, I don't like other things on the board. Let's see. Told you guys what all I have planned this year. A lot of DraftKings draft, the slow draft, deep dives on the Eliminator. Hope y'all will come and check that out. Tell me what some of you guys' favorite drafts are in the comments. What are you guys like? Are you guys more BBM guys? Are you guys more DraftKings drafters? I'm assuming maybe if you're watching this, maybe you're a DraftKings guy. Let's see, it's getting close to us. Let me see what we want to do here with pick 94. I'm not loving any of the receivers that's on the board right now. You know what? Let's go ahead with this pick. We're gonna go Tracy. He catches passes, and we like him. He looked pretty decent last year. Top receivers on the board are Pearsall, Reed, going by ADP, of course, Downs, Pittman. I don't like any of those guys. We only got four receivers, but I mean, we started JJ, Tyreek, and then we got Tet and Addison. So I'm definitely gonna have some more, but I don't feel desperate yet. I'm not a guy who, says I have to have this many receivers by this round or, you know, we'll fill it out. There's some receivers later in the draft I like. I I started receiver in the first round and I feel good about Tyreek. If he burns me on those teams. But if he's Tyreek, it's a really good looking team so far and I am definitely a draft as though I'm right guy. Every team I draft, I don't worry about injuries as far as my team. Now, one thing I do like to do, we'll talk about it more here in just a second. It's about to be my pick, and it's still kind of that same grouping of receivers. Loveland and Andrews are the best tight ends on the board right now. ADP wise, I don't really like them. So unless this guy takes them, I'm gonna go. Hmm. They took him. I was gonna go for Warren actually. So yeah, let's do my other thing here. So one of my quarterbacks, I don't have to worry about getting later. I'm gonna go ahead and go Fields. I've been taking Fields a couple times so far this year. I like his ADP, and I'm not even afraid to run him unstacked. Although, 1 second there, guys. Uh, Sometimes when I take Fields, I was just finding him and putting him in my queue. Sometimes whenever I take Fields, I will end up going with Malachi Corley. Late in the draft, of course. Eh, he probably won't turn out to much, but I remember I liked him as a prospect last year coming out. He's not on anybody's radar right now. And, one thing I try to do with my 19th and 20th round picks is this probably comes from my days as a DFS player before I got into best ball. I try to find the low owned guy. I try to find that guy that, hey, you know what? If I get really lucky and Malachi Corley's paired with Fields and I'm in the playoffs and he has a good week, 15 or 16, maybe random 2 touchdown game or something, that's a huge advantage because he's going to be so low owned in whatever pod that I'm in. I'll probably be the only person with him. It gives me a big leg up. So I like to go for either guys like that or if there's somebody in the 19th or 20th round who I just feel might have some real sneaky upside that people aren't really on yet. Maybe I just feel he's real underpriced for what I think he can do. Those type of things are what I like to do. Sorry about that, guys. I just realized that you can't see the board anymore. I'm gonna get better with that. That's another rookie mistake. My bad. We're learning. We're learning. New to the streaming thing. But you guys can follow me on Twitter too at jthibodeau80. I'll tell you, I will always keep my DMs open, even if my channel gets bigger and everything. I'm always there. If you want to ask me a question, my opinion on somebody, if you just want to chat, I love talking ball. If you just, want to start talking ball about best ball and different players and stuff like that, hey, I already got a bunch of buddies I talk with like that. The more the merrier, right? Let's see what we want to do here. Now we do kind of maybe want to start looking back at receiver. There's none I like still though. It's kind of a little tough spot here. We got three, four. It's a little bit of a reach, but I'm gonna take Marvin Mims. He kind of came on down the end last year. We need receivers, firepower for sure still. Now I'm gonna start watching these quarterbacks because I don't really want to take McCarthy at ADP. You know, everybody else in front of me when it comes on this long side stretch here, everybody else has at least one quarterback, some of them two quarterbacks, one of them three quarterbacks. Well, I take it back. Chief Rocket doesn't have a quarterback. But what I'm going to try to do is count on the fact that I have Addison, I have Jefferson, and we have Hawkinson. Okay, I pick at 123, and McCarthy's ADP is 128, with Jordan Love and Drake May still on the board, and even Trevor Lawrence if you want to throw him in there. So I feel it would be a bad pick at 123 to take McCarthy here, even though, yes, it would triple stack him up. So I'm going to hold off, try to pass him around through the board one more time. And for our pick, we will take Christian Kirk because we still want to keep putting more receivers on there. Now we're up to six, and I'm kind of liking them. I think I'll get some usable weeks out of Mims. I think I'll get a couple usable weeks at least out of Kirk. Um, you can see back behind me there, I am a Texans fan. I got my signed CJ jersey that my oldest son got me for Father's Day last year. It was very nice of him. That said, I try to do fantasy, I try to do best ball, not with any of my fandom involved. I, I think I only have one Texas stack with CJ this year so far. Again, I'm only 10 drafts into this thing. I have done also though 4 drafts of the $10 one on DK. So if you guys don't pay attention to like the advance, how they're set up, DK did it last year. It was $8 instead of $10. And right now they have a $10 one. I think it's called Chain Movers. And it's only a 5 max entry. But instead of in the first round of the playoffs, week 15, instead of having to go 1 of 12, I'm almost positive it's 2 of 12. And then it's 1 of 12, in the third round or whatever. Or it might even be 1 of 10. I don't remember exactly, but it's got a better advance. Chances of advancing are better, especially that week 15. They only have to be 2 of 12. You all been there. You get put in the pod in week 15, and you come in second. The guy in front of you just like had a hot week, but hey, if you were in that chain mover, you would have advanced. So I do try to max all of those because they're only little 5 entries. Generally, they're this year they're at a $10 price point, so they're more what you call a time capture tournament where they're a smaller field. It's already getting close to halfway full here, and another couple weeks at the most, it'll be full, and then they'll drop another one. So you don't have to worry about ADPs changing a lot. Like, with these big tournaments, by the time we get to August, we haven't even started training camp yet. By the time we get to August, ADPs are going to be a lot different. So just because you can't get a certain combination of players a certain point right now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't be able to do it later in summer. So, one thing that I like to do in tournaments like that, I like to take more chances. Maybe, reach for some guys, pull a guy up that normally goes, maybe he goes at like the 5, 6 turn, and I'll pull them up to like early fifth round or something because you don't have to worry about the ADPs in that particular tournament changing a whole lot since it's a smaller field and it fills up quick. So I'm like, why not go ahead and do that? And then it gives me a pretty, unique combination of players. I feel like. Waiting on the McCarthy to come back to us. He took Tua, which is fine. I had Tyreek, but once I took Fields, once I took Fields, Tua was the guy. Originally I was wanting to try to get like McCarthy and Tua and probably go for Bryce Young as a third quarterback on this particular team if it works out. Once I took Fields, that kind of took Tua was the guy in my head that I had coming out. And so if the Mahomes drafter doesn't take Cam Ward, which he didn't, this is why we did it. So we could have took McCarthy at ADP when we took Kirk pretty much. But knowing I had all three of the pass catchers, we figured we could make him come around. And we did. And I probably could do it again since the two guys in front of me at the turn have two QBs already. But because it is DraftKings and you can never rule out somebody taking a random third quarterback when they shouldn't, and we already got him at a really good ADP value, we're gonna go ahead and snag him up. Move the draft board down again for you guys so you can see what's going on. See, he just took Penix without London or Pitts or Mooney, I believe. So that very well could have been McCarthy. The two hole just took Brown. That's one guy I was looking at. Um, hmm. Let's see here. You know what? I talked about him earlier. I'm gonna throw Rashard White on there. You know, he catches passes. He gives us a fourth running back. I really like, my top two running backs. Let's go up and look at it again real quick. Jacobs and Hampton, we like them. For depth pieces, we got Tracy. He should be starting out in the year at least as their main back. So I got three guys that I feel really good about. So now when I'm filling out my fourth, fifth, maybe a sixth one on this team, we'll see. I like to go for guys, like your Whites, your Charbonnets of the world. I think all of the guys who have pretty clear backup roles as running backs are undervalued right now, in my opinion. While I don't plan for injuries on my team, let's face it, injuries happen, right? And so, like, if you have a guy that's, the clear cut number two running back of their team and the starter goes down, it doesn't have to be a season ending injury, but let's say the starter goes down for 5, 6 weeks or even 3 or 4 weeks. If they're timed at the right time, you can get a massive advantage by having some of these backup running backs on your team who, you know, a guy you took in the 12th, 13th, say 14th, 15th round, if they only hit your lineup 3 or 4 times a year, but they do it in weeks where the starter went down and they were the starter and they gave you some really good weeks, 18, 20, whatever points, I'll take it. I think some people get too carried away these days with the true zero RB team. It can work as long as you got a couple of those later round guys. If you found you running backs later that you know are going to be having roles right off the bat, then yeah, I think something like that can work still. But all of us drafters are getting better and better at this thing, right? So like if you have a whole team of running backs who are waiting on something to happen to hit the field or to really give you some really good weeks, by the time that happens, you may be so far buried in your pod that it's just going to be too hard to catch up. That's my opinion. I do think that said, I was bearish. I was more bearish on running backs, especially earlier in the draft than I should have been last year. I'll be honest, I didn't fade Barkley, but I was probably a little under the field on him. And somehow I talked myself into the fact that Jalen Hurts was going to steal all these touchdowns from him at the goal line. And, you know, when really the writing was on the wall, right? It should have been pretty easy to see if we just don't galaxy brain it and overthink it. It was pretty easy to see that, hey, Barkley could have a massive season on the Philadelphia Phillies offense behind that offensive line. And with the threat of Jalen running, and you got two good receivers there, it should have been pretty easy to see. Like I said, I didn't full fade him. I think I ended up with about 6 or 7%, something like that. But looking back on it, I wish I would have had a bigger stash, a bigger bag of him. Should have been pretty easy to see. But hey, we're not perfect, right? We try to learn from our mistakes. Bryce is no longer an option for us. So stick around for the 20th round of this draft, maybe even the 19th. You'll see who my DK sleeper of the late rounds is at quarterback. Can you guess who it is? If you can, leave it in the comments right now, and I'll give you a shout out on the next video. We'll talk about him though in a minute. Let's see. Do we want to go? No, we don't want to go running back right now. I don't like any of them. Not really feeling the tight ends there. Maybe on the way back. I'm going to take Keenan Allen. I think he's going to sign somewhere. Since I took Fields with this particular team, I'm going to hope he goes to the Jets, and then that gives me a stacked up partner for Fields. When it comes back to me here at 171, I'm going to take a second tight end. Now, by ADP, Mason Taylor is on the board. And yes, he makes sense since I have Fields, but I don't think the Jets will be that good this year. And Taylor just went anyways. And I was about to say I wasn't going to click him anyways if another guy that I like is there, because the weeks that Fields hits my lineup, I think it will be because I think a lot of Fields' game this year will be Garrett Wilson isn't open. I'm going to take off running or check it down to Brees or something. But I see them kind of just giving him the green light to take off with it whenever he wants to, because that's kind of the only way they're going to win football games, feeding Wilson, using the run game, and letting Fields do his thing with his legs. It's the only chance they got. And I'm going to take Mr. Fryermuth. I definitely think that him, or Pickens, I should say, going to Dallas definitely opens up the door for him to have an even bigger role in that offense. He's pretty good. I'll take him as a tight end too, behind Hawkinson. We're liking this team so far. What do you guys think? You tell me. Did you see any mistakes I made, or in your opinion, things you would have done differently? Let's go look at it real quick, how it's coming along. you know, we started Jefferson, Jacobs, and Hill. Got our first Hampton share this year. Got Ted, Addison. I mean, I got the triple stack. We need McCarthy this year to just be killing it. So we got all of them. We got Addison, Hawkinson, and Jefferson. Fields sprinkling a few boom games here and there for us running the ball. We got Mims and Kirk, couple usable weeks out of them. A backup running back who, if Bucky gets hurt, Bucky's not a big guy. He could get hurt. If he does, we got the starting running back who can catch passes, who's put up good weeks before in fantasy football, and he was the guy. Let's see here. I think when it gets back to me, let's see, what pick will it be when it gets back to us? 190, 15. We'll see what's on the board. There's one running back coming up who's my favorite, one of my favorite clicks of the draft so far, along with Hawkinson. Hawkinson, where he goes around his ADP, we already talked about. He's one of my favorite. Going into the 16th round, I will end up putting one more tight end on this team for three tight ends. Probably end up with another QB. I really don't want to go with, you know, if I have to, I'll go with two on this particular team because I definitely think I will get some usable weeks out of Fields. And I mean, let's face it, with three Minnesota pass catchers, including Jefferson as the third overall pick, if McCarthy isn't hitting, this team doesn't stand a chance anyways. So for that reason alone, if I have to go with two QBs because it works out that way, we'll do it. So at the 15-16 turn there, the 12-hole guy, he took my guy, Will Shipley. I think he is probably the best click on the board right now for a lot of reasons. We'll talk about him here in just a second. Let me see what I want to do with this pick. I'll probably come him on the way back. So we'll take another running back that we like if he doesn't go here. And then we'll talk about Shipley. I'll take Jalen Wright. He's another one of those guys that, if Achan gets hurt, he's going to give me some real usable weeks probably in that offense. He kind of goes along with my Miami. I got two, I mean, not two, I got Tyreek. So, it gives me another Miami player. I'm all about the team stacks. Since I'm close to the turn, I'm going to wait and take my 17th round pick and then we'll have a little Shipley discussion. I want to go look at that 12-hole team too. I forget exactly how he started. I know he started, I think he started Bowers, if I remember right. I want to see because he's loading up on those late round running backs. Spears, Stevenson, Sampson, Shipley, Braylon. I kind of like what he's doing over there. He's doing exactly what we talked about earlier. I'll have to go see if Spears was his first running back he drafted. If so, he was really pushing that zero RB build. But the first two he took are guys who, Spears isn't the starter, but he'll have a role week one. So he can get some points. And Ramondre's probably still the starter, the goal line back, worst case. We're gonna go. What do we want to do here? Is he still on the board? No, not tied in yet. I'm gonna take Lockett, you know. I think if Cam Ward is pretty good, Lockett might have some usable weeks. All right, let's go look at the rest of that guy's team. Yes, that was his first running back he took. So he took Bowers, and then he went the Eagle stack. Then he went Godwin, Pickens, Ayuk, Buka, Harris, Burden. 8 strong receivers there. He had Ertz and Bowers, so he hasn't drafted another QB or running back. And then while it's a zero RB build, if Spears can give him enough the first few weeks of the season, and if Stevenson, has some decent games, and he could get lucky too. There's a lot of talk around Brees Hall maybe being traded. Hey, if Brees Hall gets traded, he's got the Jets starting running back. He's good to go. And then he's got three guys that I'm not the biggest Samson guy, but he's got some speed and he can play. He's got to get by another rookie Judkins still. I love the Will Shipley pick. I love the Hunter pick. So, if he can get enough in the first 3 or 4 or 5 weeks of the season to have usable running back weeks, I mean, between his 8 receivers that he has, he doesn't have to worry about he'll get 3 strong receiver scores plus a flex score easily most weeks, I believe. We'll see what he does for another tight end and quarterback at some point in the draft. It wouldn't surprise me if he tacks on some more, dart throw backup running backs. Guy knows what he's doing. I like the way he's drafting. See, there he goes. Marshawn Lloyd. That's a good click. Sanders is a good click there. I like that. I like that team. Maybe it'll be me and him coming out of the pod. I haven't looked that deep at all the other teams yet. That one just caught my eye because I saw what he was doing. And let's go down here now. You guys can see what's going on in the 18th and 20th rounds. Do it like that. If you happen to still be watching this, one thing that I think I'm going to do too here, hopefully starting in a couple weeks, is all right, we watch all these streams, right? We see when, you know, Pat hops on with Pete or the Spike Week guys does a draft with somebody, or, I know Davis and Liam right now, they do one on Wednesdays. Being a new content creator, of course, I don't have those connections. I didn't come up in the industry like most of them did. So what I would like to do, hold on, it is my pick. We are on the clock. And I think because I have Tet and I need a third tight end, I'm gonna go Jatavian Sanders. When I get to like the 18th, 19th rounds, 20th rounds, I am definitely at that point not afraid to, reach off of ADP. I think once you get to like 16 even, you can start reaching a little bit. 17, 18, 19, 20. You'll be really lucky if 2 or 3 of those guys aren't zeros for your team, never hitting your lineup. So hey, if there's a guy I need that fits the particular build, I am definitely not afraid to go get him. If we get a sixth running back on this team, we're gonna have to get creative because a lot of the guys I do like the most are gone already. Probably going receiver here. I have 8 already, and we're in the 19th round, so I don't know. Maybe we just stick with those eight. Let me see what running backs out here. You know what? Any of the running backs I would draft right now that I like, I can probably get later. So we're gonna go ahead and take the guy that is normally our 20th round special. I took him around early. Jalen Milrow. Let's talk about him. I think for a 19th or 20th round pick, this is the first time I've taken him 19. Normally I get him in the 20th, but I didn't like the running back here. The ones I do like are one that I probably would pick from. Some of them will be there next time. Who we went with him? Jalen Milrow could end up being huge for somebody, I think, this year. I'm gonna keep screaming it on streams all the time. The reason being, no, I don't think he's going to start for Seattle right out the box. I don't know if he'll even start for Seattle until late in the year. But I, at least, am not a believer in Sam Darnold. Seattle, everything that they're doing, I mean, they let Lockett go. He's older, though, of course. They traded Metcalf. Yeah, they got JSN. They signed Cup. Nobody thinks Cup will stay healthy. I think there's a real possibility that later in the year, Seattle's not going to be in it. Let's face it, San Francisco's probably going to be better than them. You know, the Rams, I think, will be definitely better than them if Stafford's healthy, of course. I kind of think Arizona might be better than them. I could see them being last place in that division. And they're going to get to a point later in the year where they're like, hey, let's see what the Milrow kid can do, right? Yes, they signed Sam Darnold to what seems like a big contract, but like most NFL contracts, if you really look into it, it's really only like this year that's kind of the guarantee. They could cut him next year and save a whole lot of money. I'm gonna keep this team. We'll finish the talk here in a minute. I'm gonna keep this team at five running backs. Hope that they are gonna stay healthy because we draft like we're right. Not hope. They are gonna stay healthy because with my last pick, I'm gonna go ahead and take one more receiver just because it's that dart throw we talked about earlier, Malachi Corley, to pair up with Fields. But now let's close this video out talking about Milrow more. They can cut Darnold next year and save a whole lot of money. So if you have a team makes it to the playoffs and we start getting into, you know, weeks 15, 16, 17, those playoff weeks, and you're telling me now I could have this guy on my team who is honestly one of the best rushing quarterbacks that I've seen, just pure runners of the football. Yes, Lamar is really good at running the football also. But I mean, this guy's almost got Lamar's speed, but power too. So, if he can even half-ass throw the ball decently, if he can be a little better than AR even, you could have a guy that gets on the field late in the year and could really give you a huge game as a 19th or 20th round pick when it matters the most in the playoffs. Maybe we even get lucky and it's in the finals. could be a difference maker. So we're gonna end on that. That's who I've been taking in the 20th rounds in a lot of my drafts. I will never draft four QBs. I mean, I guess I can't say never, but it would take a very extreme case. So most of the time with my drafts, I've been getting two guys like I did today, and that fields through whatever range who I know are going to be starters. I know they're going to be there. Give me some points. Maybe they ping pong just right to where I get really good weeks most weeks from one of them. And then as a third QB, I've been tacking Milrow on there. Anyways, it was fun. Another one in the books. Hopefully it's the 2 million. Hope y'all guys liked it. If you're still here and you haven't, hit that like button if you stuck around for the whole thing. And I'll see you guys again real soon with another one. Have a good night.